This social stigma attached to tattoos. Because you are a girl is a legitimate reason here in Japan. Marriage hunt. The status of a girl in society. One thing that really shocked me in Japan was when I first went on the train and I looked up and there were posters of girls in bikinis. Hey guys and girls and Japanese, it's Cathy Cat. This time we're going to talk about 5 things that foreign girls don't particularly like about Japan. Let's find out what that is, how to prepare yourself for that, and how to live with it. Let's go! Number 1. The social stigma attached to tattoos. You got a cute tattoo? That's great for you, but it's not so great here in Japan, where tattoos are still seen as something rather negative. They used to be put in connection with syndicates and similar things like that. So if you have a tattoo, even though it's for fashion reasons and not because you are a social hideout or bad person, you still might get a little bit of that stigma. You will not be able to use or wear your tattoo to pools, to onsen, to hot springs, to beaches. There are loads of places where you will be barred from, and even though you're not a bad person, having a tattoo, people will go like, oh, how daring, or you might even get a little bit of a reputation of being a bad girl because you have a tattoo. It's just a cultural thing. Japan is trying to grow out of that right now. The younger generation is much more tolerant than the older generation about it, but fortunately, many people still have a very negative image of tattoos.
よろしくお願いします。
Number 2, because you are a girl is a legitimate reason here in Japan. I was really surprised about that one. I've never heard that so much in Europe as I've heard it in Japan. It can be taken for many things as you like sweets because you're a girl, or you shouldn't go there because you're a girl. And I heard that so many times here in Japan that it really surprised me. It's still a legitimate reason here, for better and for worse. Sometimes people will treat you better for it. Sometimes people will tell you you can't do certain things because of that. It is, again, a cultural thing. You need to learn to live with it. You can try and call people out for it, but it might not go so well. So again, sometimes I'm just smiling through it and go, okay, it's a different culture. I think you mean well. But sometimes it might hit you a little bit harder, especially if you're very outspoken. You might not be able to keep in those emotions and those sentences that you want to tell those people, but for a moment just listen to what they have to say and also read around it. Are they telling you this to put you down, or are they telling you this to protect you? Are they telling you this because that is their image of girls? Just listen to it for a little bit before you state your opinions, and yeah, don't let it get to you. Konkatsu. Now, there is a thing called shushoku katsudo, which is what young people will do after school or university, meaning job hunt. But there's also konkatsu, which is pretty much marriage hunt, meaning in Japan, legitimately not going to look for a job, but just looking to become someone's housewife is still a thing for some girls. I was very surprised that some girls will just say, hey, I asked a couple of my fellow students when I was an exchange student, I said, what do you want to be in the future? And she just said, I want to marry fast. That was her dream for the future. And it's different because it might be unusual in your country. It's not a thing that's happening so much in your country, but for some people, it might work out. So don't judge people. It is still different. It's a different culture. And if that's their dream, there's nothing they can say about it. So let them do their thing. What I found interesting, though, is a little trivia. The girl that told me when she was 17 that all she wanted to do was marry, traveled afterwards to India. She's become a kick-ass girl and doing quite well in her life, so you never know how things will go. Yeah! The status of a girl in society. Now, in Japan, it is in the change, but there's still quite a lot of things where a woman will stand beyond a man, and it's a man's world. Many people have been telling me this. Why you're in Japan, it's a man's world. There are still certain privileges that get out for the guys, and in certain jobs it might not hit you as hard. In other jobs it might hit you harder, where you see that people around you get promoted, or you asking for the same thing but you're not getting it, and it can get frustrating. And I've seen some of my colleagues who were female who worked so hard, harder than everyone else, and not much of a pay rise or anything for her in stock. So it is on the change, and I'd like to think it's changing, but it can be quite tough if you're going out into the working life here in Japan and just see that there is still a gap between guys and girls. Also, maternity leave it is officially in Japan, it has arrived here, but many don't really get it, and many will kind of not get any support during that as well. So again, it's really hard for women then to decide to raise kids and stuff. But we've talked about this in detail actually with our interviews. We asked this to Japanese people too. So if you want to hear more about that one, be sure to check it out.
しばらくお待ちください。
One thing that really shocked me in Japan was when I first went on the train and I looked up and there were posters of girls in bikinis that were maybe in their teens, in their early teens, 12, 13, 14, 15. And that was an idol group and their new album, and it was winter and they were all there in the bikinis. And then I looked around at all the other posters and there were pretty much everyone who was older or older than teenage or 20 years. They were all wives who were like cooking for their husbands and stuff. So this brings us to the topic of ageism. There is quite a idolization of youth here in Japan, so meaning everything in your teenage is great. Once you go to your mid-20s, that's your expiry date. There used to be the thing of the leftover Christmas cake, meaning if you're 25, you're not married yet, 25, but that's like the last age. But once 26, after Christmas, the 26, no one wants to eat the Christmas cake after Christmas, meaning if you're not married by the age of 25, no one will want to eat you. Yeah, that used to be a thing. It seems to be changing a little bit upwards, but generally many young girls will try and marry as soon as possible so they are not becoming the leftover Christmas cake. I mean, it's hard to see women in media. It's generally either kids or wives. It's hard to see independent women trying things out for themselves, which makes it hard. If you are an independent girl and you're trying to make your way in Japan, makes it very, very hard. You feel a lot of time out of place. You feel like you're not good enough. You feel like you're not reaching the things you want to do. But Japan is trying more and more to support the girls that are out there and the women that are out there and are trying to make their way in life. But it's still very much a man's world. Just be prepared for that when you come to Japan.
お疲れ様です。
So those were the 5 things that foreign girls struggle with when they come to Japan. Remember guys, it's a different culture here. It's not easy, but especially if you're by yourself and you're trying to make your way here, try hard. I support you girls. You can do it. And also it's not easy for guys as well. We're gonna talk about that in a future video, so don't forget to subscribe for that. Also, how is that in your country? What do girls with struggle in your country? Let us know in the comments down below. Looking forward to finding out. As always, be kind to each other, and I'll catch you soon for a future video with Ask Japanese. Give us a like on the way out, and I'll see you soon for more. Bye!